How's it going, everybody? Um, okay, let's talk. LSU. Now, I was watching this video. It's about is this one on next shirt? Hope you can see it. There we go. Well, I'm not able to change this, but system justification theory is from what I can understand in a very general sense, it's the dynamic in which there are there are people who are benefited by the system and those who are victims by the system, and you have the bias there. Those who benefit don't really see much of an issue with the system versus those who are victims of the system who see the problem, but those who are benefiting from the system don't see the problem. Now, I mentioned LSU is because they had this scene where this at a I guess it was a pep rally or something like that. The guy called these I guess it was because they were at a home game. These Koreans. I'm guessing they're Koreans. I'm not entirely sure. I know one of them was Nugan, and but that's besides the point. The guy called these fellow students Cheech and Chong, which is a derogatory term for Asian Americans, and even then Asians could be broad broad amount of things used to be Orientals. But the point is that that's not okay. And the reason why I mentioned this systems justification theory is because, as I said from this the post is that the the population is about 75% white, and given it's probably like a sprinkle of other things. And they said that they're one of the persons who was like head of the student union is like he's black and it's been 30 years since there's been a black one. So my point is it's not really white people have a problem, but there is a bias there. And what's the problem is that during this aspect, this dynamic, is that they say they were offended. Now in this, I guess I'm gonna unpack this. They were offended by this person's comments, and no one did anything to stop them. Now you remember back in the 90s where they had these they had almost every race for a collective of shows to show unity, racial unity, and to show we can move through this together. And what was once like a the new term is like the salad bowl. You have a collection of flavors, but is I remember there was this other guy who's from Moody. He described, yes, we do have a collection of salad bowls, but unfortunately, it gets drenched in this ranch dressing, so that the collective of flavors from these individual things in the salad becomes covered by one thing. And so it's a similar thing because it's at these parts like LSU, people don't do anything, and they said that even they received criticism, like why did it have to go all the way to here? And here's the problem: it has to. To me, it has to. It sucks, but it has to because people need to stop attributing free speech with harassment. That's harassment. I'm sorry. From what I can gauge, there's not really an offensive word for whites. And I'm not saying there should be, but I'm saying that you shouldn't utilize your free speech to condemn another person's freedom to exist, to coexist. And the guy, whether he was just showing his rally pride or whatever, I'm sorry, that's not quotes, but I'm just gauging what they might suggest. That's not okay. I'm sorry, it's not okay for somebody to call somebody out their name or call them by a derogatory term. It's not good to sit here, and even if it was from me, we all know they're not gonna call black people right out the N word anymore, even though for them they probably used free speech back at the time. And I think that's just my problem. It's just it's not policing what you think. It's just being considerate of the other person. That's all. Just be considerate, and that sucks. That really does suck. That people have to sit here and consider if it's okay to call somebody out of their name, to say, is this a free speech issue? No, that's like, and forget, pardon my language, pardon my French, but that's like Asians, like a person, white person living in China, and they start saying uh asshole, and the dude knew what he was talking about. Like, let's say he knew the language over there. I don't say Cantonese or what you call it, because there's a lot of dialects. But my point is that if a person said, you're an asshole, and they're at like a public function, I don't want you here, you're an asshole. And then it's like, of course you conform to that society and you do what's best to get out the way. But it's like, is that right? You know, and I use that as an example, not that that has happened. I don't know a thing about China, but I'm just want people to understand a similar concept. Or if you were in um like for instance in South America, where the government is forcing white farmers to relinquish their farmland. Is that right? They use the past and apartheid to justify their their things. I'm an American. I don't. Can I speak on it? Can I speak on, like I said, for China? Nationally, it wouldn't be my place, but would it be right to force people's uh, force people out the land? I would personally think that's kind of sketchy. But at the same time, I recognize history. Like, maybe they got land from the government. Maybe they forced them out. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know the details behind it. I have to do my research. But my point is when someone does something wrong, the community like has to do what's right. Sometimes you can't just sit on your laurels and say like, you're causing too much of fuss. Sometimes just do the right thing. Even in the times of the Holocaust, people had did things that were considered illegal. They smuggle the Jews, smuggle Jewish persons. Was it legal? Probably not. But was it the right thing to do? Yeah. And they probably lied to their officials. You know, but my point is, I mean, and that took courage because they could have died themselves. So that's a selfless act of courage, courageous loving. So my point is, with these people who they said they didn't get any defense from their fellow students, and it's sad. It's really sad. Just consider that. These people, some of them are probably considered their friends. Some of them probably said that same thing, like, we're all equal, man. We're equal. We're just human beings and stuff like that. But as soon as this dude starts slandering these students, then what? You guys just sit there. "Oh, I don't want to get in that. Perhaps. You know, do I want to stop this clown from slandering these people? And then when they go actually get some help, the dude just say, "Oh, well, we should just consider this the next time." And it's just like when we get stuff like that, I mean, just consider like this. Um, like in what is it, like the three strike law, or even in jail, where they try to make an example out of somebody, they hammer this person down, you know, like this is like our part of our criminal justice system. Like, we am I saying this right? No, but the idea is just like, okay, this person gets dealt with. Now look at this person. He got dealt with something incredibly harsh for this small thing. Now hopefully everybody don't repeat that same crime. But it's just, I don't know, like, and I think that same notion is and again, I don't think that's necessarily fair, especially depending on the crime, because it's like, what, I'm not even gonna get into that. But my point is, what was I saying? I was gonna say, considering the cancel culture. When we see people like Roseanne, start claiming, oh, this person looks like a monkey, and it's just like, well, why'd you say that? And then, again, it's starting to make me think that some of these people just sadly feel like it's okay to call people that. I've had a few white persons suggest that, like, they say that, it's just is crazy to me. It's real crazy, because um I wouldn't consider to be trying to call a white person out their name. Sure, white people do silly stuff, but is that all white people? Is it okay for me to produce that? And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I haven't said any regrettable things. But what I'm saying is just this was especially overt to the point where I can infer that he's comfortable. He's been comfortable with saying something like that. I mean, why do you think Roseanne was like, it was just a joke? It was just a joke. Why? Because the internet went to the extreme and it saw, um, I guess the channel that was funding her show, they saw, okay, this person's not good for publicity. Maybe not good for publicity. Maybe not good for the press of the show. If she stays on the show, you know, we don't want that negative press. So you gotta go. And she was crying and stuff, and it's just like, be conscientious of where you're at the moment, especially during 2019, where everybody's kind of sensitive. But it sucks because it had to get this sensitive. It's sad, but we had to get this sensitive. Sorry, you know, just think about that. We had to get to this point for us to start considering other people's feelings because people's jobs were getting lost. Instead of just saying, maybe I shouldn't call this person that. Maybe I shouldn't call this person a Ching Chong, which is sad. Like, that's stupid. I mean, I don't, that's so dumb. And we're like, and we claim to love these cultures outside of our own. Love Japan, love Korea and China, you know, and like people want to travel to different places to find themselves or try to get away from the norm and stuff and get away from these racial tensions. But it was birthed out of ignorance. I'm sorry, this conflict was birthed out of ignorance. And so it's so tiring. It's so tiring to hear these people who claim that America has such fragile skin, and it's just a pendulum swing back and forth. Because back in the day, people thought it was okay to say anything, to the point where they would not only just demonizing the particular people, but they were killing them. It's a saddening thing to me. It really is. So, sorry, I have I don't know. I just hope for the people at these schoolmates, was it Nugan? I don't know if it's appropriate to mention their first name, but the lady Nugan. Um, there was another kid. But I think it was just him and their friends. Ngo, and then I think one of them was like Bo. But it's just yeah, I don't know. Like I'm looking at it and it's like the LSU is just kind of making statements to try to cool the air. It's just statements until something happens. I'm not saying the dude should like be kicked out of the university, but be reprimanded or something. Like be barred for a week. And again, I get the extreme of where that could go in terms of people policing speech. But what I'm saying is that when people go as far, like that shouldn't give you an excuse to just say you're the worst thing that I could have imagined for people of your place, race, color, orientation, whatever. Like that shouldn't give you a pass to just say that. Just be considerate of another person. And again, that I'm like, people don't. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just introverted, and I just wouldn't consider calling somebody, especially Asian, or otherwise, something out of their name. I just feel like you have to be comfortable with calling people stuff like that to do that. So that's just what I think. I think it's just a mindset of America that's just it kind of needs to uh, not just convert but adapt to the times, or at least as it says with like psychology, when people are extroverted and someone who's introverted, they're not totally these things. They are a good portion of them, and they're good probably like disproportionately the other. So my point is, learn from both sides of introversion and extroversion. If you're extroverted, learn from people who are introverted. And if you're introverted, learn from people who are extroverted. And by that dynamic, I just think like maybe these people have to mobilize with like a Asian student union or something, or even just the minorities. Just say band with them at the time to suggest like, dude, that's not okay, and like to make a statement. Because I personally think if nobody says anything, they're gonna think that's okay, and that's not even just with these students. That's gonna be even one-on-one interactions. We know if we know about like how these psychological things happen for the arrogant person and narcissistic person. You don't put your boundaries together and say that's not okay. They're gonna keep doing it. They're gonna think that's okay. That's acceptable behavior for them to do. And there's a term. Somebody said that something like it's up to you to teach people how they should treat you. And it's sad because they should have some home training. But they don't. They're ignorant. Maybe it's because they're not near mommy and daddy anymore, or maybe it's because that's just how they are, even with their parents around. Who knows? I can't say for certain. I just know that's out of pocket. And I don't know, man. Like, no, I don't think it was wrong for them to put that on social media like that. That type of behavior needed to die, or maybe this is unacceptable. But even though what he did it was just unacceptable, it wasn't okay. Maybe these students need to just I was gonna say beat his ass, but no, like fire back, and it's crazy to me because it's like, why is it not his fault? People act like, dude, you went too far. But I'm like, why aren't people coming at this dude? You know, why aren't people coming at him? And that's just crazy, man. Like it sucks because we like to use freedom of speech, and people love using that excuse to call people all types of craziness. And then if somebody get upset and start throwing fists, then it's suddenly the person who threw the fist fault rather than the person who said the derogatory language. Excuse me. And from what I understand, free speech wasn't even about being able to be an ignorant person or an asshole. It was about being able to freely speak your mind and not be condemned by the government or not be silenced by the government. As long as it's not like threats against the world, our leader, you know, you should be able to speak whatever you want without recourse or some sort of penalty, you know. And it's just like, I don't know. I just figure even now, like, even if this is like with this theme of capitalism and private ownership, like shouldn't the LSU itself, and again, if if you draw this back to me, it seems like it's more of a money issue, it's more of a security issue. Um, so if you consider this, from what I read from the article, I didn't do any research. They said is the what is it, the graduation rate for last 2 years, 2017 is like 75%. And they were white, or at least it's either that or the population is 75% white. So given that, and I trail back and I come back full circle to the systems justification theory. They are not. They are the majority. So they have the majority privilege to not even consider that to be offensive, because to them they don't have ching chong toward them as an offensive. You know, I have the N word as an offensive. So if somebody says, "Oh, this, you're that," then it's like that's triggering. That's not good. Even with fellow Black people, I have an issue with that because I don't like the word. Period. I just kind of allow them to say it because they have that liberty. I would preferably not have them say it to me. I just recognize that as my part of my culture, and that's my cultural right to have. But as we understand, especially with these themes of cultural appropriation, one of my things I like to say when it comes down to cultural appropriation is the originating culture okay with it, and that's usually my theme. People love Wu Tang Clan, so I say they okay with put Wu Tang Clan. Wu Tang Clan is there. Their culture, especially in China, is well established. They're not losing any sleep over the Wu Tang Clan. And why for us as Black people, it's not really we respond so volatile, or not even volatile, but just like so insecurely, because our culture is not so secure in that matter. And it's not just that, it's the attempt to self-preserve our culture, and just even what people say, oh, well, what about whites, and what about these genes and stuff? But it's like, not really, because it's America. We still share the heritage of Americans. So it's like, I would think it's everyone, and people, you can suggest that's hypocrisy, but I still feel like um we're not taking a culture and just saying that we didn't appreciate it where it came from. Apparently, when people thought Wu-Tang Clan, we thought, oh, he's culturally appropriating. I don't think that ever happened, because we all know that Wu-Tang Clan is probably inspired by Kung Fu cinema. So I'm sorry, going back to it, it's just it's not okay. It's stupid. I really wish LSU could do something about it, because that's not okay. That's, you know, if you want to be, you should be a student, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't gather the courage to tell somebody back off. Yeah, you should tell somebody to back off. You should develop these traits in you to defend yourself, and not always um depend on the system to protect you. I think it's a hybrid. When your efforts in is when the system begins. And I like that hybrid of America, because it involves that. Is we like the representatives. We make sure we're heard as people before the system intervenes, and I think that's helpful. It's not just, oh, why'd you do that? It's just, I don't know. Like, for them, they didn't know what to do. And from what I understand, especially in the midst of these racial tensions, the Asians are just on the side that they probably don't want to have anything to do with it. They're just kind of on the side doing their thing, which kind of reminds me of Japan, but they have their own thing. Um, but yeah, it's just this is it's just too silly. It's just real silly. Um, and do I know if any of these kids know how to these students know how to fight? No idea. But I'm like, I don't care what kind of fighting is. Yeah, I guess I say that because I'm like, if they're Asian, they probably know their cultural fighting style. At least that's my guess. But at the same time, I'm like, it don't even have to be that. It's just throw a punch. If they really, I'm not just saying inciting violence, but I'm like, defend yourself. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's whatever young student asshole person who decided that Ching Chong was a great idea. I honestly thought that term died in the 2000s. Frankly, I honestly thought that died in the 2000s. Apparently not. People are still talking out the side of their neck to other people they don't know, and that's sad. That's really sad. I guess that's it. I'm not saying they should fight. I'm just saying, you guys did the right thing. I think you students did the right thing. Because I know black people get a bad rap about defending themselves and just kind of trying to exercise their agency as a citizen. Because I'm like, who would suggest that throwing a punch, if a black person, if this person was called, if this same person called a black person blackie, and a black person threw a punch after hearing that, would he be in the right? Would he be seen as violent? I don't know, but I throw that in there because you know pride and how the family is seen is important. I would think in Asian cultures, like they don't go to school to fight over stupid things like that. And I wouldn't even think fight in general. In period. I think they're just trying to be there and enjoy their time and survive. They're not trying to sit here and fight over stupid shit. It's supposed to be about just enjoying your time and then working, hard to get whatever degree you're trying to get, and try to be successful. Whether that's something that's, and forgive me, I don't know a lot about Korean culture or Chinese culture. Um, I'm I don't even know if Tiger Moms is a thing. I just heard that from a YouTube post, and so I say forgive me for my ignorance. I'm just a considerate person naturally, so this isn't just me conforming to the system of hypersensitivity. I'm just naturally that, So I'm just like sorry for the ignorance. It's just I don't know. I don't know what these Asian Americans go through, or Asian transfer students, or whoever they are. I don't know what they're going through. But if it's something like this, that's not okay. This is not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. And so I'm not asking for this dude to get kicked out. I'm just asking for this dude to be reprimanded in some way. So that if it comes down to like, and this is sorry, I have to add this one more thing. If the system doesn't deliver by the conditions, because we're taught, especially in America, trust the authorities. Trust the authorities. That's what you hear. Whenever these shootings happen, unjust shootings, trust the authority. He should have complied. Trust the authority. This stuff happens. Trust the authority. Why? Because if you're trusting authority, suggests that if I trust the authority will then do what it's supposed to do, protect and serve me. If it fails to do that, my trust in the system dies, or at least is lessened. And so I think when it comes down, if they just sit here and just say, "Oh, we're just going to talk about, let's just get over it. Let's just, if you guys didn't see any problems, band together." What if the same thing happens again? Now I'm pretty sure, like as they say, they get criticism for even speaking out, which is stupid. I'm sorry, like these same kids would not do the same thing. They would probably tell that same dude off if he was trying to say some stupid stuff. They wouldn't sit there, oh, okay, oh, and I bet somebody around them would defend them. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put it like that, but what I'm saying is just that, you know, I don't blame the people who are victimized. I don't blame them. I don't. They're just trying to live life, and they got uh called out. What the heck am I trying to say? Got name called some derogatory terms for what reason exactly? No reason. Just some arrogant person wanting to talk out their neck about some stupid stuff. Just talk because they can, and that's sad. Because he can. Because he knows he's not going to get any problems from it. Who knows if this dude even has any parents or any associations or any wealthy associations with a university, but it's just, he thought it was a good idea. He didn't consider the consequences, probably because there wasn't going to be any. Maybe he was so confident in in the system that he's like, hey, yeah, I'm going to call these Asian people Ching Chong. I don't know if they're Korean. I don't know if they're Chinese. I don't know if they're Vietnamese. I don't know if they're Thai. I don't know who the heck they are. I just know they look Asian, and I'm just gonna say whatever I want to them. I'll be all right. I'm not gonna be punished for this. I'm gonna be all right. You know. Hey, you guys. Da 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 da. It's just, it's nuts. I'm sorry. It's nuts. That's it. Hopefully, I mean, this is the internet, so I don't know if this blows up. People might misconstrue it, but calling somebody out because they're calling somebody at their name, and calling somebody out their name, from especially calling somebody out under their name, is unacceptable. Again, I'm not calling for him to get any time, like thrown out, going to jail. I just want something to happen. I don't know. Maybe take a class from him or something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Do something. That's all. That's all I'm asking. Do something so that they can at least have hope in the system that they're supposed to trust. Supposedly supposed to trust. All right. Take care.